So the question is, who actually is going to get into the White House? So at the moment, polls are showing a 1% difference between, or separation between, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. This is Mayor Valensky with Driving Markets on YouTube. You can also download the podcast, and you can also subscribe or follow me on Instagram. You can share, subscribe this video on YouTube, and let's kick off. Right, so the polls are showing a really tight contest between Kamala Harris, Democratic Party, and Donald Trump, Republican Party. Both of them, both Democrats and Republicans, are polarized. They've set up two extreme camps. You've got Kamala Harris, which is one that is willing to go for the liberal, progressive, and lack of understanding of economic input to get economic output. And you've got Donald Trump, which has a erratic, checkered record regarding all types of issues, and there's many people who are against him. However, if you look at the last 32 years of governments, you've had a hell of a lot of Democratic parties. Some say, if you look at Obama was in power for 8 years, Bill Clinton was in power for 8 years, Biden was in power, but yet over the last 16 years, only 4 of them were Republican, in this case, Donald Trump. So if the Democrats essentially objectively here are complaining that the economy is going to be bad under Donald Trump, but they've had 16 years of running the economy, they've had 16 years of running the government. So the question, or begs the question, as to, well, what are they talking about? And that's being objective. Now, if Donald Trump is to get in, then I reckon that the economy will do quite well, because he is a businessman, does have a checkered record, has gone bankrupt a few times. I recognize that, and also a lot of other accusations, but I do feel as though there is a deep state bias here in Washington that are looking to do anything possible to get him out or prevent him getting in. And that is something that really irks me. In other words, it's not a level playing field. You've got the media on the one side, which is pushing the Democrats and Kamala Harris and the Biden agenda. Could be for all types of reasons. One, because they want to advance their career, they want to get involved with billionaires, they want to get more popular with the politicians. They know that the Democrats and the media are intertwined, and therefore they lean towards them. That could be a reason. Another reason could be simply they don't like Donald Trump, they don't like Republicans, or they just don't want to challenge anyone globally or locally, and therefore the progressive liberals is an attitude of, let's just go along, let's not stir the fire, let's keep everything calm, under control, which is fine. We all want that. Everyone wants a bit of peace, everyone wants quiet, everyone wants to raise their families, everyone wants to progress in business. I recognize that. I'm also the same. However, sometimes when you do get these despots around the world, whether it's in Russia, Ukraine, in the Middle East, China, you need a strong leader to stand up to them. And I don't think Kamala Harris is that strong enough leader to stand up to them. She hasn't got the wherewithal in order to face international political tests. And that's where I think that she could become very much undone. So this election is an essential measure of what's likely to happen over the next 4 years. You could have a booming economy. Wall Street is in bed with the Democrats. Wall Street doesn't want any changes whatsoever. What Wall Street wants is quite simple, just to go along, kick the can down the road, don't really ruffle the feathers, let the border be open as long as the market is moving and there's plenty of liquidity with cheap money, low interest rates, and avoid and ignore all the hard facts as far as the economy is doing. So that's not going to work, because eventually it is going to erupt. So if I was to put my Driving Markets hat on and say, right, what is likely to happen? Well, it's quite simple. If the Democrats get in, the likelihood is that Wall Street will love it, okay? Markets will move up higher and then crash. Why? Because you've got rising unemployment, you've got lower employment. What does that mean? The job openings are less and less. You've got more people that are in debt now than ever. You've got rising credit card debt, rising default payments, rising late payments. You've got a commercial property sector in the US that's in tatters, and you've got regional banks, US regional banks, that are about to pop, about to go. They're about to literally roll over and go bust. It's only about 300 of them, out of about 4,600, but that number is growing as more and more consumers get into debt and more commercial property landlords are late on their payments simply because the tenants aren't paying the rents. Now, put all of that into a assessment and you could see that the economy is heading in the wrong way. It doesn't really matter who says what. You've got to look at the facts. And the fact of the matter is you've got a booming economy. Why have you got, booming stock market, not booming economy, correction. You've got a booming stock market because the markets are being manipulated by algorithms, not by economic output. The economic output in the US is actually declining. And as the economic output declines, it's going to come to the fore. It's going to come to the front of assessment by analysts. But at the moment, the analysts on Wall Street and the analysts in Washington are either ignoring the numbers, the true numbers, or manipulating the numbers to make out as though the economy is doing really well. But the economy is not doing well, and that is where politics comes in. You're going to have Kamala Harris with her increase or proposal to increase corporation tax, personal tax, capital gains tax, and tax on assets, the unrealized profits on assets. That is a major step that no administration, no government has taken in the past. And yet you could get the support of both parties on that. I find that a little bit unlikely. On the other hand, you've got Donald Trump coming in, and his economic outlook is quite simple. He wants to increase tariffs on imports. That would raise unemployment immediately, but eventually bring in enough money to inject in the economy, reduce taxation so the actual worker, the actual labor force walks away with more money in their pocket, and that would essentially increase consumer spending. Consumer spending is one of the foundations of an economy. Without consumer spending, you ain't going to get these massive profits by these big mega seven, these big corporates globally, whether it's in the US, Europe, or UK, or Australia. You need consumer spending in order to maintain a higher level of earnings. And therefore, if these companies want to make profit, they should really be looking to governments that want to reduce tax. Now, if Kamala Harris increases corporation tax, there could be or will be an exit of these companies out of the US, across the border to Canada or to Mexico, where the tax environment will be much lighter and softer for these individuals. So what you do have is a setup whereby if Kamala gets in, you could see a falling economy, and if Donald Trump gets in, it could be either a stable or rising economy. Either way, the economy is going to go into recession immediately. No president can stop that. No one in the White House can stop that at the moment. However, you may find that depending on which president is in, you could find that the recession comes to an end earlier. My bet is with Donald Trump that he'll do an absolute better job. So you can share, subscribe, comment on this YouTube. You can also follow me on Instagram and download my podcast. This is Mayor Valensky with Driving Markets. Have a great day.